Okay. I did my research assignment on the cognitive dissonance theory, which is cognitive dissonance is a feeling of discomfort resulting from inconsistent attitudes, thoughts, and behaviors. And the article that I did, it applied cognitive dissonance theory to the aspect of romantic infidelity and the consequences of it, and how it further leads people into a further dissonance. Basically, the journal of my choice, it was describing the various acts of infidelity and how people when they act in such ways, it creates a dissonance because a lot of people already have some sort of view or just belief about infidelity, and they see it as kind of like immoral, like an unjust behavior. It's like a dishonest behavior, because when you're in a committed relationship, or like especially marriage, it's like a really big commitment. You've basically taken a sworn oath to uphold, and you are obligated to withhold that to another, and your partner. You owe them the dignity and integrity of keeping that bond and not going outside of it for any sort of intimate pleasures or things of the sort. So they did numerous different studies in there, and when they would come up, they would survey several different people, and the people would let them know if they've ever acted in an infidel manner or if they hadn't. But the people would have had to have been in some sort of relationship that was considered moderately serious, and also if they had had committed prior acts of infidelity, if that would affect them in their later relationships, which it was supported that actually that was true. And the infidelity, once they've committed it in a prior relationship and then are in a new one, it creates a mental discomfort, and it helps. Well, it doesn't help. It actually damages their self-concept, how they perceive themselves, because they don't want to see themselves as an immoral person, because they view people who act, they view infidelity as an immoral act, selfish and just unacceptable, and they don't want to label themselves with those adjectives. So what they do is they trivialize. They'll just kind of make their actions seem less important, which in turn creates the mental discrepancies that are very hard to deal with. There's like psychologically, it takes a really big toll on people, and this study shows that. And this study has left for further discussion based on the topics. Like when they trivialize, there's studies that can be taken a step further as like a branch off of this one here, like such as the trivialization, just to see kind of exactly how it's triggered, how exactly it triggers the dissonance, and exactly how, kind of a measure in a way, exactly how these acts in the dissonance lead to bigger and harsher mental discomforts. And personally, I thought that this was a pretty good journal. There was a lot of good information in it, and based on what they have found, that people who do commit acts of infidelity whether they make it seem like it's not really important at all, or no matter what they try to label it as, it truly is an issue in their minds mentally, and you wouldn't expect that this would be a common thing, but in reality it actually is. And a lot of it depends, say, if there are two people in a relationship and there are acts of infidelity that take place which causes a rift in the relationship. That's not right there. That's not the definitive end of the relationship. It can still continue, and at times does, but a lot of it depends on the perpetrator and how they handle the situation in the following months and years, and how they act and behave in such ways that really that's how that affects the way that the relationship can, whether or not it can be repaired. And oftentimes it cannot, because obviously it's like a broken promise or oath, or sometimes, and it's a lot more serious in terms of marriage than it is otherwise, but it's still not really a generally accepted behavior. And this theory, like I said, cognitive dissonance, just within the infidelity aspect of things, this is just one branch of it. Like, they've went through numerous different hypotheses in this journal here that lead one to believe that there's other factors in terms of trivializing cognitive dissonance and infidelity and everything discussed in this article, that there's more to be researched out there than just in this journal. So there's obviously room for more study, and I think it really does help us get a pretty good understanding of cognitive dissonance theory, because people, they know that it's immoral. They know that it's not a good choice to turn your back on someone you've made a commitment to, and in part they don't want to see themselves as immoral or unjust or anything like that, so they just kind of say, well, what I've done isn't all that important, I can just continue on and it won't matter. But mentally they are paying a price, and regardless of them trivializing their behaviors, it really is affecting them. So that is how this theory ties in with the article that I chose, and it obviously leads you to believe that cognitive dissonance is a very, very huge factor in our everyday lives in terms of emotion, and that is truly a big part of what we look for in life, is commitments and positive emotions, and cognitive dissonance is one thing that reduces comfortable emotions. So this is just one aspect. There's thousands of more, but like I said, this study leaves a lot more to be desired in terms of finding out the link between dissonance and infidelity in relationships.